Yet there are still those in science who say the exquisite nature of the universe, the exquisite laws of the universe, are evidence of a designer, of a creator. Mm-hmm. Does that view make sense to you?
It's very tempting. I mean, we want to be thought of as children being cared for by an omnipotent, omniscient, and benevolent creator. I mean, think of all the uncertainties and turmoil and terrors of our life, which would be made less terrifying if this were true. But here, if anywhere, is a case where we must not believe because we want it to be true. Now, if you take a look at Darwin, you see a case where it was so tempting to say, I find a watch. It requires a watchmaker. Watches do not spontaneously self-assemble. And now I find an acorn, or a squid, or a bacterium. It is much more intricately and exquisitely put together than a watch. Here too there must have been a creator. It's very natural. But what Darwin pointed out is that there is a perfectly reasonable process, which is inevitable, which will create enormous, exquisite order out of chaos given enough time. If we thought the universe was only 6,000 years old, there is not enough time and evolution is nonsense. But if, as in fact is now definitively true, the solar system and the Earth are 4.5 billion years old, then there's plenty of time for evolution, and our sense that order means creator is wrong. Finally, you can say, look, you can go back as far as you want, but somehow the stuff of the universe had to come from somewhere, and isn't that what God did? But that's only true if the universe was created. If the universe was always here, if the universe was infinitely old, then there's nothing for a creator to do. Most of us would be surprised to hear that the universe is going to end one day. We expect the universe to go on forever, into the future. Why do we have the idea that it doesn't go on forever into the past? I'm not saying I know the answer to this. This is one of the deepest questions. We do not know the answer. We simply have to keep an open mind. All of us, philosophers, scientists, religious people, no one, in fact, knows. If the general picture, however, of a Big Bang followed by an expanding universe is correct, what happened before that? Was the universe devoid of all matter, and then the matter suddenly, somehow created? How did that happen? In many cultures, the customary answer is that a god or gods created the universe out of nothing. But if we wish to pursue this question courageously, we must, of course, ask the next question. Where did God come from? If we decide that this is an unanswerable question, why not save a step and conclude that the origin of the universe is an unanswerable question? Or, if we say that God always existed, why not save a step and conclude that the universe always existed, that there's no need for a creation, it was always here? These are not easy questions. Cosmology brings us face to face with the deepest mysteries, with questions that were once treated only in religion and myth.
Some sort of terrible insignificance of this planet we inhabit. What do you see when you look at the pale blue dot?
Well, it is true that some people are disappointed that the Earth has such a comparatively insignificant role in the universe. But my view is, first of all, it's not our job to impose our wishes or fears on the universe. Our job is to understand what the universe is really like.
There is something very humbling about that picture we've just seen, though, isn't there? I mean, does it strike you that way?
Certainly. I mean, here we are like mites on a plum. And the plum is this little planet, and it goes around an insignificant local star, the sun. And that star is on the obscure outskirts of an ordinary galaxy, the Milky Way, which contains 400 billion other stars. And this galaxy is just one of something like 100 billion other galaxies that make up the universe. And it is now beginning to look, this universe is one of an enormous number, maybe even an infinite number, of other closed-off universes. So the idea that we are central, that we are the reason there is a universe, is pathetic. We have to simply come to grips with the real universe that we really live in. And if some of our myth and some of our religion is inconsistent with it, it's time to change the myth and the religion.
You call them the great demotions, all of these thoughts which we have so cherished. Well, guess what? The universe doesn't revolve around the Earth, and guess what? The Earth isn't the only world out there. Are we still clinging to any conceits such as those which led to the great demotions over the past few centuries?
Well, you would think we should be over it, but we still are battling, at least in the United States, the conceit that humans are separate from the rest of nature, that an unbridgeable gap separates humans from the other plants and animals, that we are the particular beneficiaries of the concern of the creator of the universe more than any of the 10 million other species of plants and animals on the earth, when in fact all of our vaunted uniqueness turns out to be shared with other animals, especially with chimpanzees, our closest relatives, with whom we share 99.6% of our hereditary material. Another area in which the demotion is being fought is the idea that there are no other planets beyond those in our own solar system. But in the last 15 years, the most marvelous set of findings has occurred, in which it now appears that planets are an ordinary, probably inevitable accompaniment of star formation, and that almost every young star like the Sun, in the early stages of formation, is surrounded by this flat disk of gas and dust out of which the planets were formed. And we now have the first bona fide real planetary system around a very unlikely object, a particular pulsar called 1257 plus 12, and the technology is just about to reach out and find whatever planetary systems there are nearby. And the third one is the idea that even if there are an enormous number of planets, only ours has life and intelligence. And there, the story is open. We send spacecraft to other planets, like Mars, to see if there are any simple forms of life. Excuse me. We use radio telescopes to see if messages are being sent to us by civilizations on planets of other stars. So far, although there have been some very curious, tantalizing findings in both of those approaches, we have found nothing definitive, unambiguous evidence for extraterrestrial life, and the debate is still open. In our ignorance, the geocentrists still find hope.
Each of these.